I'm Laura A. Grace, and I'm a manga creator, but I'm not an illustrator. Welcome back to my video series. I am so excited you're here. I'm really excited for this month because I'm going to be sharing how I found my illustrator, how I connected with her, what it's been like so far, and I found out yesterday that we're going to be having a special guest at the end of this month, and she's going to be sharing about how she turned her short story / novel into a manga, because the manga is so good, guys. I really loved it, and I need to get a copy because I only have a digital copy. So definitely stay tuned for that at the end of this month. Now, before I can talk about how I found my illustrator and whatnot, something I learned that's important to almost, I think, have before you contact an illustrator is knowing the sizes and the dimension of your manga. Because each distributor or each printer has a certain requirement that you need to fill so that when you go to print your manga and distribute it, you're not going to have any of your panels cut off or any of the text cut off, because that would be so heartbreaking, especially if your illustrator does all the work and then you print it and you're like, what just happened? So we definitely want to avoid that. I don't remember when exactly I did this part in my process with my illustrator, but I did send that with like my actual manuscript to my illustrator. And I realized that I should have done it first, because a few different things is that, again, with the printing and distributing, you need to know the size of your manga, because you can't do this size manga, which I think is like a 5.5 by 7 or 5 by 7, to a maybe like 6 by 9 style or size manga. See, they both will have different requirements, and you can't just take, like I said, the smaller one, put it on the bigger one, or more importantly, the bigger one on the smaller one. You can't do that. You need to have the exact size that you want, because especially if you want to publish, say, on Amazon, or you use Barnes & Nobles, you use B&N Press, I believe is the name of it, you must have the exact size. Trust me, when I publish team lines, B&N Press will accept nothing less than those exact measurements. And we're talking like by like 1/4 of a measurement kind of thing. No, you need the exact ones. I knew, well, after looking at my bookshelf and seeing the manga that I mainly had, I had a lot of shoujo beat manga, and I wanted my manga to fit in with Viz Media, like their sizes. Granted, I didn't know that Kodansha was doing smaller size manga, but I knew I wanted the smaller size manga. It was important to me to have my manga fit in with the other manga that I had on my shelf. Like, that was like extremely important to me. So I did some research. I went online to see what printers and distributors offer this. Now, I do want to mention that there is a difference between the printer and the distributor. The distributor is going to basically sort of like deliver your book to other or to readers. Amazon is a prime example of this. They put your book on their platform, and people can go to their platform, buy your book, and they can get it directly from Amazon. Now, a printer is just going to print your manga. They'll print the manga for you. You can order copies directly from them, and then you yourself can sell them and distribute yourself. I decided to go for my distributor. I wanted to do Ingram because I had worked with them before. They did Dear Author, and I do want to show an example because there's quite a few different reasons I went with Ingram. I felt that Ingram would provide the best manga quality that I wanted, because Dear Author came really good, and I'm going to show an example. So this is my Ingram copy of Dear Author. Ignore the gray line. This is my Amazon copy. A big thing for me is that maybe it's not as noticeable on camera, but my image, my like cover itself, is not as sharp looking as my Ingram copy. And not only that, if you look at the bottom, again, this is my Amazon copy, my name is not centered, even though I have proof that the person who did the font for me on my cover made it completely centered according to the template that Amazon gave me. This one is centered, and it threw off the direction of, like, this just looks so unprofessional to me. And I was really unhappy. And so I was like, I'm going with Ingram. I wanted to go with Ingram for my manga. When I did research to see what sizes that they print and distribute, they do the manga size that I wanted. And I was really excited because I'm just very happy with the quality of the books that I have received from Ingram. They just feel better, they have a smoother touch, and the images much more crisp than what Amazon has sent me in the past. The next step was me finding a printer who would do it, and preferably who could print and distribute, because I did not want to be a personal distributor. Yes, I'm willing to sell copies that I have, but I really wanted it to be available worldwide. And Ingram, I will mention, does do that. They put your book on Book Depository, and that was essentially important to me that my book be available on an international level, not just in the United States. How does this all tie in to the illustration process? Because I mean, like me, you might be like, I'm just ready to go talk and get an illustrator. Like, who needs this? But here's the thing. Each printer and distributor has certain guidelines that you have to follow. And I think I already mentioned that, but it's really, 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 really important. So I sent Ingram an email and I was like, hey, this is a size manga that I want to do. I'm not finding the guidelines to follow where I can send it to my illustrator so that it's uploaded correctly and won't get flagged. Because if it gets flagged, it's not going to get printed, which we want it to be printed, especially if you want your book in paperback. They sent me an email and I went to the links that they mentioned in the said email. And here is a screenshot of what is in their guidelines so that I can give this directly to my illustrator, and knowing that when she's doing the illustrations and I go to print it, there should be no issues. That kind of information I realize is something I definitely need to have on hand before I gave it to my illustrator. And that is one thing that I would do again if I could redo the process of getting that information first, because I felt it was slightly stressful when my illustrator's asking me these questions of what she needs. And I'm like, I don't know what you need. And so it put a little bit of a hold on the illustrations process beginning because I needed to have that information. Now, I want to mention that you can publish your manga through Amazon, but here is the thing. If you're doing a paperback, I emailed them the day before this video and they don't have any specific guidelines for publishing manga paperback. Now, they have an epic system I heard for doing ebooks, like of manga and graphic novels, which I'm excited to use that because it seems like it's a very easy and simple process to do. But in case you're curious, in case you are like, well, I definitely plan to use Amazon. I've used them before. I feel comfortable with them. I did find a thread. I don't know how old it is, but I found a thread of somebody sharing my manga or my graphic novel keeps getting flagged and I don't know why. And I'm going to leave that link posted down below so that for anybody who's interested, they can go exactly to that link and find what people did, and hopefully that will help. Now, there are plenty of other manga printers, and ultimately I feel like all of them come down to personal decisions of what you or what a manga creator wants. So I just wanted to share that information because it would have been so helpful to me personally if I would have known back then. So I guess as a quick recap is I needed to know what size manga I wanted, get those dimensions, then I needed to decide what printer I was going to use, reach out to them, find out what their requirements and guidelines are so that nothing gets cut off from the manga and the story itself, especially the important parts. And I also need to find out what the requirements and guidelines were. And then I also need to find out what the requirements and guidelines were for my distributor. That is just a little something that I wanted to throw in for this week's quick video. And then hopefully next week for sure, we will dive into the illustration process and just how I found my illustrator, because that was very time consuming. Just knowing some of these things I hope will be very helpful to you personally. And if you have published your manga or you know of some epic manga printers and distributors, totally please share them down below so that we can check them out as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!